name is Jan Hope. Thank you for having me tonight. I could be the shortest speaker on record. Let's see it. 4 seconds in. Ditto. But it truly is an honor to be here. And as proud as I am to be here tonight, I'm more proud to be here. We moved here 10 years ago. We're in that outsider group, retirees. And we looked at probably 15 communities in Western North Carolina. And the day we came into Waynesville was a Sunday, and there were families on the street, and shops were open. And at the time, the Chamber of Commerce office was still on Main Street. And we just had a sense of welcomeness and grace. And we just literally stopped for our 100th and said, how would they be? So thank you all for that. And I think pride is certainly a big part of that. I will add one thing that hasn't been touched on this evening is I have been involved in the parade the last 2 years. And I went to my first drag show this year. And giggling aside, I ended up crying at the end of the evening because I felt so much love in the room, and I felt a community that I am not directly a part of, and the sense of joy and safety, and again, welcomeness was something that was just an honor to be a part of. So in addition to just the parade and all of the events, thank you, Waynesville, for being the community that
Starlene Dunn.
I'd like to just thank everyone.
I think it's Janie Frick.
Janie Freak.
Okay. Can you spell that last name for me?
F-R-U-E-H.
I'm a retired critical care nurse, and my husband is a retired pastor, Presbyterian pastor. And in the last decades of our lives, we were also public Montessori teachers. And now we live in Waynesville, and I am an ally and also a PFLAG mom. And I want to thank all of you. Street. I have a child that desperately still does not want to be gay. And I wish he could be here tonight to hear all the love in this room. I think it could make an enormous difference. And you just don't know what this means to folks to see those flags. It is tremendous, and it was beautiful. Thank you very much.
T. Weiss. There's no first name, just a first initial and Weiss. T. Weiss.
I never signed that.
Okay. And Dr. Lynn Knight.
So I put doctor on there because I am a Dr. Lynn Knight, because I'm an educator. And I ended up in retired teaching teachers. And I taught diversity. And I taught queer. And I taught people to be themselves. And I wanted to come today, even though I was still working because I'm a massage therapist here in Therapeutic, and I have my own business doing that too. So I do a lot of different things. I also taught in Western, where I learned about Waynesville and how wonderful it was when I was here. I ended up moving to Colorado, and I'm going to talk about why you want to be who you were when I met you in Waynesville, and why you want to continue to be those kind of people that believe in safety and love and care instead of violence. So I wasn't planning on retiring as a professor until I got to be 70, which is this year. And I was all ready to take a bunch of students out to do STEM science, all going to be teachers. And it was at Rocky Mountain Conservatory. We had worked all year to get there. We had put all of our stuff together to get out and have this amazing experience. When the day before, I decided to go hiking with my dog in the park that I lived in, because I taught at Colorado State University in Pueblo, but I lived in Beulah, a little mountain town, because I love the mountains. And I thought I needed something with trees, because I love trees. So I'm out hiking and get ready to go into the entryway. And I had already been harassed by some young men at the little grocery store and different kind of things. And I had one come by me hiking, and I blew him off when he was saying, "We're watching you." And then on that morning, the day before I was supposed to leave and take this group of students, this man came up behind me. I turned, and he plowed into me with a brick of some kind of brick or stone. I woke up in the hospital 3 days later with a pretty bad situation on my brain, and was there for a week. And then when I got out, I'm a cranial therapist too, so I got some help and got acupuncture, and I was back teaching the next week. And my students told me, "You sent the craziest emails, but we know you, Dr. Knight." And you just kept telling us we had to get our work done. And, it was spring break. So my students that I was supposed to take up into the mountains, everybody got missed. Over 20 people missed having this experience because of idiots that thought they knew something about me that they didn't know. So I came back here. I came back here because I consider it to be a safe place. And I'm hoping that's what you believe too.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, everyone. That concludes our public comment time. You're welcome to spend the afternoon with us here. It might be a little boring what we do, but we'll take a moment here if you would like to get up and leave. So thank you all for coming out. We enjoyed hearing your voices.
Good job. I'm wrong. Jesse's in the. Oh, I'm sorry.
He's the assistant, right?
He's the assistant. I'm the one who's hearing stuff. We enjoyed it. We enjoyed it.
It was great.
It was great. Thank you for coming.
I have.
So that's what's causing all the. That was the so for Jesse's got.
This is a test.
Yep.
This is a test.
Actually,
I can hear you.
Sometimes if we just leave the mic right here, talk into it,
it was. These are working just fine.
those are fine, but those aren't.
That's wide open.
The mic was hot. Jesse had to do some finagling on it. So nobody seems to use it properly. So, you know, between the, when those two things combine.
No. It's so there's a common function that you're supposed to be able to talk into. It's supposed to be left wide. Right now we opened that up inside that switchboard back there. I don't know what happened, but it seems like that cone is shut. So, and also like, you know, without saying anything.
Just never seems to work.
Never. That's why I put this here, because that, if you leave it there, but if you get too, so the idea is if you're talking in a large cone, see how it picks me up very well back here? Now the base of that cone has a smaller diameter. So if I get here and then I go here, it's not there. But if I back up and I talk there, it's fine. Yeah. So it's kind of like a.
Just need to leave it there.
Yeah.
Or we should put a cone of shame on it.
That's a good idea.
All right, let's continue our regular scheduled meeting. Additions or deletions to the agenda? Are there any?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that we delete item G7 from the agenda. I have Councilman Dixon explained that DWC would not be eligible for a grant for kiosks because the TDA is looking at the same kind of project. So I don't think that DWC is stopping our pursuit of a kiosk. We just realized per Councilman Member Dixon's council that we won't be eligible for that particular grant.
Okay. All right.
Second.
Since you're the chairman, I'm sure that will work out. All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, show like sign.
And Mr.
Okay.
Mayor, I have some additions. I'd like to move that we add three items to the agenda. The first is resolutions that support the state revolving loan applications.
Good.
The second is an authorization to apply for a Halo County TDA capital grant with the dog park. And the third is an amendment to the fee schedule.
Okay.
But those are the three items I'd like to move that we add.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right, got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, show like sign. Okay, we now have the consent agenda. I'll ask for a motion that they be approved.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, show like sign.
I second that, by the way.
Okay, we got, move on, we got a presentation, impact Flood Memorial Public Art Piece Proposal. Brianna, did I say that correctly? Okay. The floor is yours, dear.
Hello, thank you for having us here today. My name is Josie Ostendorf, and I'm a senior at Tuscola High School and next year's president of the Impact Youth Club.
Hi, I'm Brianne Haynes, and I'm a senior at Tuscola, and I'm the incoming secretary of the Impact Youth Club.
Today, we are pleased to share with you a vision for a memorial installation that honors the resilience and unity of Haywood County in the wake of Hurricane Helene.
We'd like to thank the Waynesville Public Art Commission for their endorsement of this project, and we have a couple of members in the audience today if you have any questions for them. Impact U is a national leadership and service club, and Tuscola High School is proud to take a part in our own local chapter.
We are coming before you today for approval on our project to install a flood memorial public art piece at the Waynesville Fire Department that will represent the resilience, unity, and strength of the community and first responders throughout Hurricane Helene. This lasting legacy will tell the story of how our community came together to face the greatest natural disaster we've ever seen.
So this is our rough timeline for the flood memorial.
And we are thrilled to announce that Grace Cathy will be the commissioned artist for this.
The Waynesville Fire Station 1 has been selected as the site for the flood memorial sculpture. The location is meaningful because it's easily accessible, honors first responders, and we have received full support from Fire Chief Mahaffey to install the memorial at the fire station.
So, new word for the day, everyone. Pentagonal bipyramid. That is the shape of the sculpture.
Yes.
It's basically just a five-sided pyramid on top of another five-sided pyramid. But the pentagon shape represents strength and unity, and its multifaceted design creates an interactive storytelling experience. So what you're passing around now is it's a model that Grace Cathy constructed. It is not a finished design because she's still working on the design, but it can kind of give you an idea of what we would want it to look like.
The material used for our art piece will be stainless steel, which conveys resilience, strength, and the ability to withstand life challenges, just like the citizens of Waynesville during the flood. We will be using 11-gauge steel due to its high strength and resistance to weather. Finally, the positive and negative space in our laser-cut steel will direct the eye to focal points highlighted in the design.
So while the final design is still a work in progress, we wanted to share the conceptual vision for the 8-foot-tall memorial sculpture. It has 4 powerful symbolic elements, and these elements all combine to tell a story of loss, strength, community, and endurance. The hands represent the people and the first responders in the community who came together hand by hand to fight this flood. The water represents the flood itself, the driving force of nature that created the destruction we faced. And the stars represent the hope and the light that we all held on to and that we're still holding on to even now. The rocks represent our endurance and stability, just like the people of Haywood County.
And the rocks are not on this, they will be on the bottom.
So this is a slide about why we chose hands and our process behind that. We don't want to take up too much time, so if anyone wants to read over that, feel free to.
So the sculpture is approximately 8 feet tall and 4 1/4 feet in diameter of the pentagon shape from point to backside. And due to the pentagonal shape of our piece, welding will be necessary, which will create small seams along each point, each side. But we reviewed this with Grace, and she's assured us that this will not hinder the design. Grace also has a professional team that she works with for the public sculptures.
So as you can see on the screen, these are some images from our site plan, and I will explain that briefly. The sculpture will be located in the center of a circular pebble gravel plaza, approximately 15 feet in diameter, with a brick walkway connecting from the sidewalk up to the piece. The pebble walkway will be about 3 feet wide around the sculpture, and the brick walkway will be about 4 feet wide. And around the base of the structure, a landscaped dry river will extend 3 feet out, and the dry river will consist of rounded river stones and gravel.
Tuscola Horticulture and Tuscola Masonry students have already agreed to help us install the pebbles and dry river. Internal lighting we're still working with, and that will allow the sculpture to be visible during all hours. We also hope to install a signboard in the sculpture that will tell the story behind the art piece. The sculpture will be placed on a thin poured concrete base. Town Wakefield will drill the holes in the concrete platform for the balls and inflatables. Welded to the bottom of the sculpture will be a very thick stainless steel base with drainage holes along the sides of it.
So a little bit about our financial plan. The total cost of the art piece itself, the sculpture itself, is estimated to be $18,000, but we hope to raise $20,000 for contingency and any extra costs we may have. We hope to fund the additional expenses of the landscaping and lighting and the signboard through grants and sponsorships. The Haywood County Schools Foundation will serve as our fiduciary agent to manage the funds for us. And the fundraising for this project will be 100% student-led by Impact U Club members.
So we've created a website where you can donate on. It's got links to PayPal's, and we also have a QR code that you are able to scan and pay that way. We will also be accepting cash and checks to the Haywood County Schools Foundation.
So our silent fundraising stage has begun. And after paying our first installation, we will then launch the public phase of fundraising.
To make this possible, we are asking for endorsement from the town council, assistance from Public Works with installation, and we will be requesting a land disturbing permit, electrical permit, and building permit.
Thank you so much. Do you have any questions?
Anyone want to start on this? Anthony, you have a question?
Yes, have you already gotten the domain for Helene Flood Memorial?
We do. We have, we've registered under that domain. So you can go to www.helenefloodmemorial.com and our entire website is created. It shows everything about the piece. It's very in detail about our project and it has donation on the site.
And what time frame are you hoping to have this complete?
Yes, so we'll go back. We are planning to have it installed in spring of 2026 is our installation, when we would like to have it installed. And we are planning a groundbreaking ceremony for September 27th, which is the 1-year anniversary of the flood. So we'd have a
Oh, the groundbreaking.
the
Okay.
groundbreaking ceremony.
Okay.
So that would just be a ceremony for everyone to come out. We would have speakers and people could really just gather and share that moment.
And Chief Mahaffey's looked at the site and he's good with the site, so
Yes.
that's good enough for me.
Fantastic. Love this idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you go back to the slide where you talked about the things that you need from the town?
Yes.
We need to
It
add
was
to that.
towards the end. Okay. I would like to move that we, the town council, waive all the permit fees that would be required for this installation.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so like sign. If they didn't, I'd break their finger.
You need to include the endorsement.
Yes.
I'll make that motion that we endorse the project and that we grant the request for support as asked for in this request.
Okay,
For the things that Public Works will do.
okay, got a motion?
Second.
Second by Julia. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so last.
I have one question.
Sure.
That's our electric there as well? So we'll be able to install the electricity needed for the light pretty easily? Okay.
It's town property.
I'm not gonna say pretty easy.
Not pretty easily, but we'll be able to install.
We'll get it.
Just want to think ahead.
We are honored that you girls are so young to take on a project like this. This is really, really great. And so we really, from all of us here, we appreciate you taking this and running with it. And so if you have any questions or anything, see this man right here. He'll make it happen. The town manager, his name is Rob Hines. He'll answer any question you have.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
We
you for
appreciate
your
it.
guys' support.
And thank you again for everything you have done to make this happen.
Of course.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Does anyone have further questions or suggestions for the piece?
And just so I understand, you, for the art piece itself, you are raising all of the funds, the students,
Yes.
members of the club. So
Mhm.
fantastic. And where you need fundraising help is with the walkway and the ground supporting and all that fun stuff. And if I go to the website, I will be able to, at some point, make those
Yep, you
donations.
can donate.
Okay.
It's open now. We're also going to be selling great bricks for the walkway,
Love
so
it.
that's the fundraiser.
Um,
Is this the kind of information that could possibly go on the newsletter?
Yes.
And or the website, how
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah.
And put it on our Facebook.
You
So,
got it.
yeah.
Yeah.
The fundraising on their website actually takes you to Hayward County Schools Foundation website.
Right, that's what I was just
Yeah, it
looking at.
ports you through, when you click on the link, it ports you over to Hayward County Schools Foundation.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Yep, that's solid. We just need to make sure that that's in our newsletter that goes to all the town,
Candace gets a hold of the
yeah,
information.
on our website. Okay.
Are y'all a 501c3?
Haywood Schools
The Schools Foundation.
Yeah, Haywood County Schools Foundation.
So basically, anyone who wants to make a donation will
It's a
make an
public
earmarked
purpose
gift
'cause you
to the
just
Schools
endorsed it, and
Foundation
we'll-
for the
it'll
benefit of this
become
specific project.
It'll become our art, so there's a public purpose
So
donation.
I would love to see this council make a donation.
Yeah, because, yes.
What do y'all think?
Yeah, let it get underway a little bit, but yes, absolutely, 100%.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
We need to get a little bit farther down in the process,
Okay.
but John, we're with you 100%.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
let's do it.
Thank you so much.
So at some point, we
We'll
will,
be making a
Yeah.
donation.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
yeah,
Thank you again.
great.
Thank you so much.
I see that. Thank you.
Okay. Move right
You
along.
done good, Mama, raising that one.
Thank you for sticking around for the hour and a half to do that.
Okay, we move on to old business. Councilmember John Factor, you want to give us a comment on what we, Wednesday course?
You're up, John.
I apologize. Okay, so I mentioned a couple of meetings ago about the Commit to Civility program and how I thought it was a program worthy of our consideration. And I want to make clear that this isn't something I'm bringing forward because I believe we have a problem on this council or that our interactions with each other or with the public have been uncivil. That's not the case. Instead, I view this as a statement to the people that we serve. It's a way to say clearly and publicly that we hold ourselves to a high standard and that we believe in respectful dialogue and that we're committed to listening even when we disagree. We talk often about the importance of transparency, responsiveness, and accountability. And I think civility is part of that same conversation. So making that public commitment publicly helps set the tone, not just for us, but the way we engage with all members of this community, and equally as important, with how members of the community should engage with us. So I hope we'll take a few minutes to look at what that program involves and decide that it is something that we should pursue as a council. So unless anybody has any questions, I would like to move that we begin step 1 of the Commit to Civility certification process by attending the virtual training in August.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, show like sign. Okay.
I've already put it on my calendar.
I already put it on my
August 27th,
calendar.
1 to 3.
Yeah. The 20, look.
And so tomorrow, I am going to, I have drafted an email that I'm going to send to the other municipalities in Haywood County, and asking them to join us in pursuit of that program. And what I would hope is that at the next City Vision Conference in next spring in Raleigh, that we as a council can go and would join with the other municipalities in being recognized for taking this stand.
Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you.
Sounds good.
Love it.
Okay, we'll move to new business.
Can we take just a 2-minute?
I think we need a comfort break.
Yeah,
Ms.
just
Ms.
a-
Freeman has elected to take one.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
we may
I
pause
agree.
the proceedings.
We will pause.
Okay, we're going to take a short 5-minute pause. And then we'll get back started with new business.
Y'all may want to shut that blind over there. Unless you want to continue with your sunbathing.
Oh, why not?
I hate to judge, but I'm leaving the rest of the meeting wrong here.
I'm leaving too.
No, yeah, right. We didn't work that out ahead of time, did we?
Did you get into anything on your vacation? I forgot to ask. You did away or you just work around home?
Well, I went to Raleigh to see my brother lives in Thomasville. Stopped by for lunch with him, and I went and had dinner with my son, and then we came back. I just slummed it the rest of the week. Just garden. The heat and the humidity. I couldn't stand it.
In Raleigh or here?
Here, Raleigh is worse. Raleigh is like, I mean, I've spent my career down east to the Piedmont. There it's clearly global warming. I think things are about 8 degrees hotter down there than they were when I was a young manager in the 70s.
Janice went to Portugal
Oh my
a
God.
couple of weeks
No
ago,
air conditioning.
and it was 150
In Portugal. Oh my God. I was talking to a friend who lives in France, and he said that the European grid, the electric grid can't handle air conditioning. There is very little air conditioning as you have in Europe today. And he said if everybody wanted to install it the way they have in America, it would completely collapse the grid. They can't handle flood. I noticed when I watch these HGTV shows about buying houses in America, none of them are air conditioned. But I bet you they're not even wired for, but they don't even have a dryer because they're not wired for 220 circuit.
Yeah.
They can.
Oh, God, you shut me on.
All of it. We'll form up the tank. You know, the only thing we want to make sure is that we handle things so that we get the electric conduit where it's in place before we pour it. And as long as you've got the contact.
Just refill the tank.
Yeah.
I haven't had that Coke in weeks, so I'm like, oh, God. I saw some thing on Instagram regarding the Diet Coke as refrigerator cigarettes. And I was like,
I saw.
that's exactly what they are.
We went through.
That's the last meeting I forgot about that. So I guess it's been, yeah, it's been about 4 weeks, I guess, since I've had that. Yeah, I was gonna say, we skipped the second Oh, take it on together.
Nobody else knows.
Hey, Anthony. I know it's in like.
It's not like his kids are so smart. Young ladies, so they may, you know, they teach them on the social media, say they put the cell phone on top.
Absolutely. Great presentation.
This year, because they want to bring that charger, is that a charger?
That's a charger.
You can use just a regular
USB-C. I don't carry that one on because this one charges my phone and everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
And the charger's freaking slow.
Doesn't.
Yeah.
It's sitting in this chair.
It's good for, there's a docking station
Yeah.
and that's, but I have a USB-C docking station. So why don't I use that?
Yeah.
And that one, it does this thing where you have to do like this and it sits down.
Yeah.
The whole house is there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's, you sit it down.
You sit it down in it and then it
A
goes.
lot of things.
I'm like, oh, forget that crap. So I do this kind of crap. Like plans.
Because all these, they're all bored now.
Thank you, Ben.
Okay, guys, we'll call the meeting back into order. And the next is an appointment of John Factor as the chair to the Downtown Waynesville Commission. Beth?
Thank you. I am here tonight to request or to present to you the DWC's nomination for incoming chair as John Feichter. Our vice chair, Joyce Massey, nominated him during our May meeting on May 20th, and the board supported that nomination unanimously.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to appoint John Feichter as chair of the DWC.
Second.
Got a second? Chuck, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, show like sign. Order, let's see, we have,
Thank you.
you're still up there. We
I've
have,
got one more request.
you got another request, yeah.
You may remember at last year's budget workshop, we talked about a Placer subscription. Our board has decided that we are ready to invest in that subscription if we could get your blessing on a 3-year contract. This would be a shared contract between the GWC and Parks and Rec Department. So we would both have access to that venue and the market analytics. Luke is here tonight, and he has agreed to share that with us and split the cost between our two departments. Placer has agreed to honor the estimate presented to us last year for $14,000. Your subscription has gone up, but he's agreed to honor last year's quote. And by signing a 3-year contract, we actually get a discounted rate for the first year and the second year. First year would be $12,600. Second year would be $13,230. And then by year 3, we would be paying the full amount of $14,000. There is a non-appropriation clause in the contract that allows us to opt out of that contract without any penalty if those funds are not available in the budget during years 2 and 3.
Nancy, you have questions for Beth?
I do. I was just pulling up something because I did not realize that it was going to be for Parks and Recs as well. Technology is changing so quickly. I would be more comfortable with doing a 12-month and seeing how it's benefit to us before we commit to a full 36 months. But my biggest question is, what does the DWC intend to use the resource for?
Right now.
I know, I'm sorry, I'm going to be asking you some questions.
No, that's fine. I'm prepared.
Okay.
Right now, we have no data at all to know who we're trying to reach, who we're communicating with, who is coming. That information is requested a lot, primarily for grant applications. TDA is one we just finished, and that's one of the questions on there. Paperwork, reporting paperwork is how many people came. We have no idea.
About events, special events.
Numbers, grants are primarily reflect special events, but we're also required, part of our Main Street contract is to be promoting this district. And so that information would help us as well in understanding who we're marketing to, how we need to message. And for us, Placer has agreed to, as you know, I believe are familiar with how they work. They do these geofencing
Have they
territories.
agreed, they have restrictions on the size of the geofence? Have they agreed to do it for the full size of the district?
Yes,
Okay.
and in addition to the full size of the district, they have agreed to do little mini geofenced areas for every business that we have within our district. So we see that as being a service that we could provide to them by helping them also understand the market better and who they're.
Right. So they don't, because it's very difficult with brick and mortar whenever it's a big long to put boundaries. So they agreed to help assist with that portion.
Yes, John, you correct me if I'm wrong, but we asked him specifically. And
I have not heard any restriction on any geofencing at all.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, while we were on our last conference call, he kind of on the fly created the geofence for the.
It's very.
Yeah. And so, in addition to everything that Beth talked about, two things. Number one, we heard this evening about the amazing amount of response during the Pride Festival. In terms of the amount of business that was traffic that was generated to businesses both on Wall Street and Main Street. Right now, we have no way to measure that for any business. And as I was sitting there watching that, we would be able, because we heard a lot of grief, right? About how doing the Pride Festival was bad for business on Main Street. Okay, and I would love to actually put some data to that question, to answer that question. And with Placer AI, we'll be able to do that. Okay. And the second thing is, we would be able to provide this info, this data to every merchant downtown so that they would be able to see where are their patrons coming from. I just thought of a third thing that we hear constantly is there is no reason for locals to go downtown, right?
Oh,
How many times have y'all heard that? And I'm here to tell you that is, nothing could be farther from the truth. We sat on the Placer demo and he pulled up info, and it's not just people driving up and down Main Street. It's people actually coming to Main Street and staying. And so that kind of question that we constantly get, we'll be able to answer one way or the other with data. And we can extend that to all of the merchants downtown. And the other thing, I know Luke has talked about how many people are using our parks, right? You just eyeball it and it's a lot, right? Okay, but how many, where are they coming from? The dog park, okay? We've all heard grief about the dog park. So there are so many reasons to the benefits that we as a community will gain from subscribing to this service. Now, I would be interested in, I personally think, and let me just make sure everybody understands, this is coming from the DWC budget, right? This is money that we have decided as part of our budget process that we want to spend, okay? And so that said, I would be interested to, if you talked about technology changing, I know Biltmore Farms has used Placer AI for.
No, I'm not saying we do.
I was
I'm
told,
familiar with the product.
I was told by a very reliable source that Biltmore Farms does indeed use it. But anyway, so if you know of advancing technology that would perhaps be better than Placer AI, that we might have an option in that general price point.
Yeah.
Let's.
I would
talk
say
about
like let's just say that the rec center off Bench Street saw 103,000 unique visits per year, that there were 19,600 different people that used it, and they stayed at an average of 74 minutes. And the funny thing about that is like, where do they come from and where do they go to? And a large majority go to Chick-fil-A after going to the rec center to work out. What, just say, it kind of information like that. But my concern is, I don't want you to get into the business of each individual shop owner asking for a report about their specific business.
You
Because
don't want to get into that?
I don't want to get into that, because how many people do we?
And
Because I will tell you why, because it's not 100% based on brick and mortar, because their businesses are so close together, they're going to get bleed over.
So my response to that is, I would love to, the procedures and the process for how we utilize Placer AI and provide the data for it, that's all still TBD. I would love to have you help us come up with those kinds of, because your experience is extensive, and so allegedly, and that would be extremely helpful. So,
do you know what version they're giving you? Did he tell you that in the demo? Because there's different. I could
do
have
not
looked
know
at the
unless
contract.
it's on the estimate here.
Yeah, let me.
I don't know.
I'm gonna look real quick.
I didn't know, honestly, there were
Yeah,
variations.
there's different.
And it is,
Oh, I saw that it includes unlimited points of interest. With the POIs, there's different POI, there's people of interest, but this is points of interest and reports.
is the different versions, does that come into play as far as the subscription that you're on?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
We've met with him, what, 3 times? And we haven't had any discussions about the different versions, but William.
Okay.
So I kind of assumed that we were getting the, whatever they had to
There's,
offer.
the reason I asked is there's some versions that include things like void reports, which will give you, if there's an empty storefront, what kind of business will go there, kind of thing, which isn't normal in the normal package. And I don't know if we'd want that or not.
Can we do this? Can we approve our request tonight? And I think the 3-year commitment with the provision that if we don't choose to fund it next year, we don't.
Wow.
And we confirmed that. I mean, it's in the small print, but we confirmed that with him verbally. And
So they give you an out after the first
Essentially,
year.
what that means is
For
that
the second year.
if the
No
town council decides next year not to allocate funding for this subscription, we can opt out with no penalty. We just would have paid them $12,000 for a year.
So the DWC's doing 6 and Parks and Rec's doing 6? Is
Yes.
that-
And that's in both the budget for this year already.
Yes, it is.
Because I'm
25.
more,
26.
I know this is going to, I'm more excited about what it's going to do for Luke.
It's going to be great for Luke.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is this in the budget that we approved for this year?
It is. It's coming out of the professional services line.
Okay. I do have another question. Over a year ago, back in March, we discussed this, and we directed staff to reach out to the TDA and follow up on the conversation about what the town's access would be to their Placer app. Did we do that?
They don't use Placer anymore. They have moved on to.
Well, actually, they had Zardica at that point in time, and I think
Right.
that's probably what this meant.
Karina volunteered to share reports with us. We got one report initially at that time and did not get another one from her again until just a couple months ago when I reached out and asked her if she would please share some information with us. She said she had been distracted by the hurricane, and that's why we hadn't gotten any additional information from her.
Okay.
I believe she stated to us, that she didn't have the license to share access to places like at that time. So, and they were also talks about going to play.
So with Placer, it will just be Waynesville NC that has access. We're not going to try to give access to individual merchants.
No.
Well,
They
that's what
would
y'all were just
request-
saying.
Well, you can
No,
generate
we were
reports.
talking about providing data to them.
They would
Not-
request the information from us and we would run the reports for them rather
Is there a
than
way
having
that
to
any
log in.
merchant in the town of Waynesville could request that information?
The answer to that question is I would love to be able to provide that data for merchants all across the town. The question in my mind becomes at that point is DWC and the rec department are paying for that. How could we accommodate a business in Frog Level or Hazelwood or wherever?
It's all coming out of the general fund. I mean, you can talk about
So-
the specific budgets.
But it's money that has been budgeted for the DWC and that we are using that money for this specific purpose. Now, again, I think it would be fantastic that if we could do this for any business inside the city limits of Waynesville. How we make that happen and.
Placer might have something to say about that one.
Well, it's not downtown Waynesville, okay? It's Waynesville. And so, Chuck, I guess what I'm saying is, man, I'd love to be able to do that, but we need to figure out what the procedures are, what the processes are. And so,
Then my next question is, what kind of person power is this going to take to crunch these numbers to be able to do all this for all the people? Who's going to be handling this? Who's in charge?
The process is what we still have to work out, and
My
we don't
question is,
really
who
know.
is going to do this?
I
You,
suppose,
John,
I suppose I would
Jesse?
be certainly part of the process, but we don't really even know what the process entails at this point, and so it's difficult to really hammer out those details without knowing
Anthony, could
exactly.
you speak to that?
Yeah, we could get, depending on the kind of reports, we could get reports set up and have them auto-generate. I would not suggest, I'll have to hammer this out, to the merchants, offering them ad hoc reports. They get a standard report that automatically goes out.
Once we're online, if we decide to go this direction, kind of what I had thought as far as public information requests are concerned for this data would be to treat them as like a policy-driven kind of public information request so the staff isn't overburdened. So this data, let's say that you ask for it on a Monday, you get it on a Tuesday, you ask for it again on Thursday, Friday, now we're overwhelmed and you're not getting anything that you wouldn't have known otherwise on Monday. So once we get it and we kind of see how much we have and how much is available to the public for use, we could maybe set up some kind of policy like, let's send everything out once a month, right? If you've got any questions or if you see any discrepancies, you can contact us. But this would follow when the public in terms of some kind of policy development that would not restrict it, but help just
manage it.
I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's
because it would be
public.
unrealistic for that to get a phone call or myself.
think it is public.
It would be public.
So the public records work like this. And I'm going to emphasize what Anthony was saying. We would set up certain standard reports. Those would be generated. That would be public record. The public records do not permit a public to say to the group, you have raw data flowing through the city, and I want a specific program programmed for my needs, and I want it on Tuesday. We're not required to do that under the public records law. We're only required to produce the reports that we routinely produce, not program. And that, I think, would be an impermissible private gift and not permitted under the law.
And I'm a little worried about the offering the service to individual store owners.
Well, that's goes to my point. It's a private gift.
Can we do this? Can we, I would love to see the DWC work in conjunction with our in-house expert, alleged in-house expert,
Yep.
and come up with policies and procedures for accessing and utilizing and disseminating this data. And then we can bring that to the council for discussion. Does that
That's
sound
fine.
reasonable?
That's good.
Yeah, but Luke, I think I'm leaning heavily toward doing it just for Luke alone. I can't wait to sit with you and
So what benefit is it?
share that information, because he'll get accurate numbers on visitors to parks, to the Parks and Rec. We can say how many people, where they come from, Are they from within the town limits, or are we seeing, what I'm seeing is all over Western North Carolina comes to the Parks and Recs, which just, we got people coming from Buncombe County to Parks and Recs.
And Anthony, it seems like great information. What are we going to use it for?
To set fees.
To set fees.
We can set fees based on
To
that.
leverage grants, because if we apply for TDA grants in the future, Karina told me she must be on the
Data.
And if we show that this is effective tourism, we can say where they come from or how
But
we need to sit down.
We could set a fee schedule of, if you're in town of Waynesville, you pay this. If you're Haywood County, you pay this. If you're outside of Haywood County, you pay an additional fee.
Well, and I'm sorry, just to remind the board that you've also discussed the potential for selling sponsorships to help fund recreation. That data of who those businesses are reaching is a strong argument in trying to persuade businesses to purchase physical advertising space on public facilities.
Can I also point out, I have been involved in this kind of acquisition of technology dozens of times over my career. And one thing that I have always found, and I bet you Council Member Sutton will back me up on this, is that we think we know how we'd use that data and that platform today. But I guarantee you, a year from now, we will be using it in ways we never even thought of.
Just like I could tell you when the gym is the busiest, the hour of the day, so you could use it for staffing. Just to, like you would think that the mornings would be the busiest, but it's not. It's between 5 and 6.
And let me give you an example, Chuck. In the documents that I provided is a report, and this is totally ad hoc. It was at the tail end of an hour-long meeting that we had with Laser AI, and just off the top of my head, I thought, what happened on May 3rd with the Appalachian Heritage Festival?
Yeah.
How many people visited that festival? We had no idea. Beth could say it was crowded, it was moderately crowded, whatever.
What date was that?
May 3rd. And we know, and this is just the day, the hour, on May 3rd, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., 2,500 people were in downtown Waynesville, okay? And that kind of info is invaluable when we go apply for grants, for example, next year to the TDA to help fund these kinds of things.
I've already used that data on my grant report for this year's festival as well.
Nice. So
Did the grant ask where you got the data from?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, even our festival permit application asks, how many people do you anticipate, right?
Yes.
That's how you attract some of those vendors. If the vendors don't know how many folks that comes to these events, they'll go to another event.
Does the
Right.
Placer program track spending at all?
I don't think so.
No,
It's
just
just
foot
foot
traffic.
traffic, yeah.
Yeah. So you can draw, quality vendors and stuff like that.
But it will tell you the median
Yeah.
household income, the demographics of the audience, like their education, their ethnicity, the person per household.
It doesn't tell you whether they stay overnight or.
It does tell you how long.
Can?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
And that's, I mentioned that a lot of folks question whether or not locals are actually coming downtown. And I'm here to tell you they are, and they're staying here for a good long time.
To tell you that,
It shows the
Yeah.
zip codes where people are coming from.
Yeah.
you can use that for.
We ought to try it and see if it works. If we could get some regular reports back, and again, I'm concerned about two things. The first is, how much time is it going to take us to use this information? I mean, it could be quite extensive. I mean, we're talking about possibly a lot of person power. The other thing is, I've still got some concerns about the individual use of it, or the reports for the individual businesses. I think that's not something that the TDA does. I think we promote the whole district. We don't promote individual store owners. And I just have something seems not right about that.
We would not actually be promoting the individual businesses. We would just be making the information available to the business owner.
Which helps them promote their business. I mean,
Right.
you're doing an individual service to an individual store owner, which is, again, I may have a problem. There's something that
We
doesn't
gotta
seem right
figure this
about it.
out, yeah.
And the board could have a second motion if they were interested to instruct staff not to produce any reports.
Well, and the other
Or-
thing, of course, those reports are all going to be public too. So
No.
if a store owner.
If
wants
you
a report-
generate it, then it's, yes.
If a store owner gets a report, it's going to be public. Anybody can look at it.
Would that change if we were providing the same report to every merchant on a
Sure.
monthly basis, like Rob indicated? I think
Oh,
it's
yeah,
something we
that's,
could
it's all public
consider if
information.
that would solve that problem.
So what was that generated 2,300 visitors?
Appalachian Festival.
Yeah.
So Pride had
Lay it on.
3,900 visitors for Pride.
And
Of course,
On
it
just
happened to me
that-
twice.
just
because
on
I
that
went-
Saturday.
I went once and then came back.
it does have the ability to differentiate.
Really?
Yes.
That is
Yeah.
new. They didn't used to scrub their data. So
Yeah, they scrubbed their, yeah. You
Oh,
can do it by
good.
number of visits, one visit, two visits. You can narrow it down to who came, went back.
I tell you what, we could also, Anthony knows because he's seen Placer in action. Beth and I know.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Luke, you've been on demos, right? So you kind of, we have a kind of an understanding about how Placer does its deal. But maybe we bring in conjunction, we can, I'm sure, do some kind of demo. To me, and I will cop to being a bona fide software nerd, that I love that kind of stuff, but it doesn't seem to be overly complicated, that you have to be IT professional to
It
make
walks
use
you
of it.
through, like,
Correct.
like
And there's
just to give you an
training
idea-
involved once we.
Chuck, of those almost 4,835 of them spent over 2 hours in downtown on that Saturday. Which is huge. That's a lot for a festival. People generally spend about 60 minutes and then they go.
Start out simplified, and then as we get more into how we can use spatial AI, how we creative reports can be.
You have to be careful because everything you generate is public.
Yes, yes, and so.
Can I also point out, this is not new, what the town of Waynesville is doing. as I mentioned in this document, Downtown Long Beach Alliance, Atlanta Downtown, Jackson Hole Travel and Tourism Board, cities of Seattle, Denver, and Phoenix, and they all have to deal with public information, just like we do. So I think we can come up with policies and procedures that satisfy the need for transparency.
By utilizing them. By you, don't recreate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm pretty much with you. I'm still concerned about the individual store owners. Number one, because Anthony just said that you can't always produce individual reports because of party walls that are shared, the stores are too small. And number two, producing that information is offering a private benefit to these folks, which I'm not quite comfortable with.
I think we need to work that out. I would make a motion that we approve this with the caveat that we need to come up with a policy.
That staff should not produce reports for individual businesses
Until
that policy is established.
Right.
Yeah.
And could you add one more thing, which is we get quarterly reports on how this is being used?
Yes, and quarterly reports with how the system's being used.
Sure.
So I've made a motion that we go ahead and approve the contract, stipulated that no individual reports be given to merchants until we have a policy in place, and that the board gets quarterly reports of how the software is being utilized.
Second.
I was going to second it, but that's great.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And anyone that says that the people that came to the Pride were from outside, lived outside of the county, the clear majority of the people that came to.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Beth.
it's all Haywood County.
All right, we'll move here.
Believe it or not, 1,000 of them came from Hazelwood. 287.
Skipping 7. Okay, Rob, acceptance of phase 2 cash flow loan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you remember, we applied for $1,500,000 of a phase 1 cash flow loan, and the treasurer's office came back with a request, with an offer of $503,482.76, which we accepted on June 10th. They intimated that they would make us whole in the phase 2 loan. We offered the expenses that we anticipate incurring, which is about $2,137,000. So we kind of asked the balance of that. They came back with an offer of $332,225. Clearly, that doesn't make us whole. However, both loans together provide relief in our general sewer and water fund of $835,707. So at this point, if I could remind you, that loan carries a 0% interest rate and must be paid back in the following way. Once you approve your loan date and they send us a check, we have to pay $1 in the first year, 10% in 2027, 20% in 2028, and the remaining 40% in 2029. This theory being that over this period of time, FEMA will be reimbursing us for the expenses that we incurred, and therefore we will simply be sending the state back funds that were due us for their reconstruction of our flood expenses. This may, of course, fall apart if FEMA chooses to get out of the reimbursement business and not pay us back. They're under no no legal obligation to pay us back for anything. So, but nevertheless, we do have 835,707 in the fund balance. So we could pay the state back in 2029, that entire amount. So I'm not real concerned with that.
At that point in time, we'll have over $100,000 in interest that's been added to it.
That's right. We may keep the interest on this $835,000 loan, and we're getting great returns on our investments at this point. So Mr. Dixon's correct.
I move we accept phase.
Can I answer one quick question?
Mhm.
Two quick questions. Didn't you say that the loan might eventually turn into a grant?
No, that's coming up. That's
Okay.
my next, that'll be the second item. You're thinking of the state revolving fund loan
okay.
that I'm gonna be presenting you in a few minutes.
Okay. Second one, real quick, and I know we've gotten one at some point, but would it be possible to get an up-to-date list of what was damaged and how much it's costing us to fix it?
Oh, absolutely. We had a 2-hour meeting with FEMA reps today, and we have an absolutely dead-on estimate of every project, the location,
Right.
everything.
You can send that out.
Kara Miller, our grants person, and soon to be our new assistant finance director, has just done a phenomenal job, and she gets tremendous accolades from our FEMA representatives for the work she's done. I'll be happy to send that to you electronically.
And I hate to take up time, but I've talked to our representative, Mark Bless, who's working to try to get funding for our fire station in Hazelwood. So I need that. That would greatly, I'll get with you on that. I just want to
Yeah.
throw that in there.
Okay, now that is not a FEMA expense. So
No, that
we'll
is not a
have it on
FEMA
the
expense.
report.
That's a
But
state expense.
Yeah, and
I
I,
just want to give him kudos for.
okay, that's great. I will, as long as we're talking about FEMA, we had a request from Senator Heiss to give us an estimate of what the overage could be that FEMA may not pay. So I sent a letter to Senator Heiss with the major projects where I don't believe that we're going to get a full dollar for dollar repayment. For the dog park, the ball fields, those areas, and he is going to work on with the state to try to get that gap in our repayment filled. And it may be with those funds that Governor Stein, I think, signed.
Yet there's a $20 million grant for local municipalities to help bridge that gap.
That's right. So I sent him about $1.3 million
Mr. Mayor?
of that
I'm sorry.
20 million.
I move we accept the phase 2 loan offering agreement.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, show like sign. Okey-doke. All right.
Yeah, you got these 3 items we added. First one's the resolutions to support the state revolving loan application.
Yeah.
Rob.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. So, this is to answer your question, John. If you remember a couple meetings back, we reported that Ian and I went to training class on a state revolving loan program that provides $253 million in loans for wastewater treatment projects and $409 million for potable water projects. These are funded from proceeds of the American Relief Act. So that money's already in North Carolina's hands, we hope. During our mandatory training session, we submitted several projects that we believe that the town would score highly on. if you notice, we have both water and wastewater separately budgeted. So the resolutions you have before you tonight give us permission to apply for several loans that that would apply in these categories. The first wastewater loans will be for what we call the Little Champion, and that's the split, the box that's on the property of Little Champion, and we've talked about that before. And getting in the weeds, we were not able to rebuild the return activated sludge, waste activated sludge pump station with the $29 million we spent. This would be a grant that would, a loan that would allow us to do that, and also the rebuilding of the chlorine contact chamber. On the water side, we look at applying for a loan for rebuilding the Browning Branch booster pump station, and that's just due to age. John, what we heard during our training session is that these are state revolving loans. However, cities that are Helene damaged and are designated as distressed, and that's a fairly complicated process that took us 2 years to get, they would be eligible for 100% principal forgiveness. So this loan should turn into a grant if the state's good to its word. So what these two resolutions do is, as with all loans and grants, you have to adopt a resolution to give us the staff permission to draft and submit the loans on your behalf.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I move we adopt both resolutions, the resolution about the Little Champion sewer improvements and the resolution about the Browning Branch booster pump station.
Okay, we could do both resolutions at the same time.
R 1825 and R 1725.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got a motion.
Second.
Anthony, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so like sign. Okay. Chuck, you got another one there.
Next thing is dog park.
Oh, well.
The authorization of, to apply for Haywood TDA capital grant dog park improvements. Is that you, Chuck?
Luke's going to
Luke.
address that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the July 18th deadline is approaching, the Parks and Recreation Department is seeking approval to apply for a capital grant through the Haywood TDA in the amount of $15,000. The minimal request is $12,500, so we went with right now $15,000, and the funding will support the addition of key improvements for the dog park, which would include shading, lighting, benches, and maybe some landscaping, because we're not sure if FEMA will not pay for enhancements like that. So we felt appropriate to try to apply for these funds. The amenities will enhance comfort, safety, and overall user experience for both residents and visitors. The total project budget would be $30,000, and we plan to pursue additional funding sources to cover the remaining cost of the match, which would be the Medford Fund toward the spring, if possible. So we don't want to do a budget amendment right now for the other $15,000. We would just like approval to apply, if you will, so we can go after these dollars, and then try to pursue other funding sources to match that. The last thing that we would want to do is a budget amendment, but we would try to pursue other funding sources to make that match, if that makes sense.
Okay, anyone have questions for Lou concerning this?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the Parks and Recreation Department to apply for a $15,000 capital grant through the Haywood County TDA for dog park improvements, including shading, lighting, and benches, with the total project cost estimated at $30,000.
Okay, got a motion by Julia.
Second.
Second by
Anthony.
Yeah, I heard two noises. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, show like sign. Okay.
And I'm not intimately familiar with with the requirements, but it's possible we might be able to use some of our contributions. Possibly, I'm not sure. It's a little gray. Yeah, for the $15,000 match.
Yeah, for the $15,000 match.
The other thing I was going to mention, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, there's about $300,000, I believe, in the capital projects fund for the 28785, 28786 area. So there's more money left, and there'll be another grant opportunity probably in January for capital projects. So this fund, that's all there is. It's going to be gone as soon as
The county
things
commissioners.
change. But at least there, we know how much there is.
Take an opportunity at it, for sure.
Yeah.
And again, the funding is, things have changed a little bit with regard to what they'll fund and those sorts of things. So,
Okay, so
we keep learning more and more all the time.
And with the 1-to-1 match, I crunched numbers at the last second, so I was thinking of 15,000 applying for it, and then 15,000 as a good number to not do a huge budget amendment. But then again, if I'm advised to apply for more, I certainly can. I wasn't sure of the dynamics like Mr. Dixon pointed to. So
Yeah, I don't know what we can use as a match. They talk about not using your own labor, but if we're purchasing things that are gonna, if we're spending money to make the area ready for these improvements, then we can maybe use that as part of the match.
Hey, so
Okay. Thank you, Lou.
thank you.
And then there's one more here, Mr. Mayor, it's the fee schedule for development services is T.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. The addition of the fee schedule adopted in your FY 25-26 budget inadvertently left out the part about special use permits. And we're asking tonight that you put the special use permit fees back into the fee schedule at the same rate as they were last year.
I move we amend the 25-26 fee schedule to include fees for special use permit applications as presented.
Okay.
Second.
Anthony, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so like sign.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Ms. E.T. All right, now we move back to town manager report.
I'm spent, Mayor. I've had all I can
Are
take.
you extended out?
I am,
Okay,
I am,
all right, sir.
I am. I'm
No problem.
waiting to get back on the walker.
Okay. Town attorney, do you have anything for us? Okay. All right, communication from our staff. I'll start on Anthony. You have
I'm talked out.
anything? John,
Same.
clocked out? I've clocked out. Joe, you have anything?
I have a lot to this, no, I don't.
I have.
I was expecting
Three things.
Okay.
First of all, we don't need to go into closed session. We have evaluation forms here.
Okay.
And we've added the town attorney to it this year.
Oh.
And and I think there's a note in here that Jesse needs these back by,
So there is no actual physical notice, but please
Okay.
return them to me by the Friday before the next meeting. So what's the next meeting date?
it's 2 weeks
Wow,
from
what was it?
today.
The next meeting's on the 22nd. So if I could have them back by end of day Friday, that'll give me Monday to aggregate all of everything.
That's the 18th, right? You want it back by the 18th.
18th, due date 18th, I'll aggregate on the 21st and then have them to share on the 22nd.
And then we'll schedule we will schedule the closed sessions for the next meeting.
Okay.
Secondly, I just want to note, there are all sorts of sustainability items on our website now. I don't know if you've looked at that, but there's actually a big category called sustainability. And then if you go to, I don't know if it's Parks and Rec or different kinds of places, you'll see different links to different kinds of things. So you can find out all sorts of things about solar and EVs and things in Waynesville. And there'll be more things coming about activities, rain gardens to see in Waynesville, those sorts of things. And then finally, I did want to, and with the council's permission, Ask, and tell me if you're okay with this, to ask staff to develop a policy to present at our next meeting with regard to the handling of media and press requests for information or comments. I would like to propose some sort of central contact person, perhaps even our own public information officer, where all requests would come. I think this would make it clear to our employees. We have some information in our personnel policy. If they're asked to speak to the media, it's going to ensure quick response to the media, and it keeps everyone on the same page. And you probably understand why I'm asking for this.
Let me make sure I understand. Are you asking us to develop a policy for the staff or for the board?
For the entire town.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood the
Right.
direction
And,
you
and
want.
again, police could be a little different, council members could be different, mayor could be different. I mean, yes, everyone. Okay.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood.
Does that sound okay with
Yeah,
everyone?
I'll draft that for you.
Okay, great. That would be good. And then we can discuss it or look at it and see. Keeping everybody on the same page, I think would be good. That's enough.
That's all right.
That's all you have. And thank you,
That's
E.T., for filling in tonight for Kansas there.
Oh, I've
Kansas.
done nothing.
Oh, have it? Okay.
We've
We've got it recorded. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for smiling over there at the time, Ted. You've done a great job.
I'd like to move we adjourn.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, your life. I'll certainly feed
This got a phone.
Sure.
So there's a Surface Pro mouse.
Yeah.
I keep it back.
Yeah. That's what
Yeah,
I-
he just wants to- he said he wants to
Flip the bottom off with a magnet.
You know we have a problem.
But I don't like the.
Not like anything. So I got this little. That's. So you don't have to turn it on. That's my. I have it on G slide.
Flew into Washington.
Yeah.
Surface Pro.
Bring it far. Drove another.
The mouse.
Oh.
I hate the mouse.
Time to
Surface Pro. It's just.
What was that called? It starts with an S.
Sioux Falls?
Have you?
Sioux Falls, South
You got
Dakota.
the arm or?
It's been a good
The Intel.
We need a motion to
We
adjourn.
did, we already did.
Oh, you
We
missed
did.
it, Jesse. You can leave
I
though.
was just gonna ask staff to handle it. so.
Chuck moved and Anthony
Yeah,
seconded.
take me out.
So you'll have to deal with that. I'm sorry.